Empty Tune Media presents the Sheepdogs Report. I am your host, Minister V. Hill. I know it's been a while since we did a report, but this is for July and August. I'm going to open with a comment. In 2024, there was a study done. That was just last year, and it was obtained by the National News Desk Service. It was a 20-page document, and the document was called Violence Against Women and Girls in Sports. Now, in this document, they found that out of 600 biological women that participate in sports, they had lost upwards up to 890 medals to men, biological men. Okay. They also found that out of 400 competitions in 29 sports, that the men were dominating. Okay. Example of that would be during the Olympics when that guy was beating up that girl, and she said she had never been hit so hard. Well, we have good news on that front. In 2024, still doing a little history here, Riley Gaines went up against Leah Thomas. Now, Leah Thomas was a biological man who was terrible when it came to swimming against men. But against women, for some reason, the men would win. So anyway, she had tied at this competition, and this was at the University of Pennsylvania, and she tied, but they wouldn't allow her to go up on stage. They allowed Leah Thomas to take the medal, take the gold. Okay, and after that, she was on a warpath, Riley Gaines. In fact, she's been the lead person across the country that's been fighting this injustice, this unfairness, as Gavin Newsom, our governor, would say. It's unfair. Okay. Okay. So, the University of Pennsylvania has reversed course. They now ban men who think they're women, what they call trans women, in women's sports. And this is largely due to the pressure that they got from the Trump administration. They were going to withhold a lot of funding. You're not going to be funded if you're going to keep this up and actually doing this unjust to women. Okay. Now, as a condition in their resolution they signed, this has just happened. They have to define sex-based terms such as male and female. They need to issue apologies to all the women that lost over the course of a couple of years here. Okay. And they need to restore their records. And here's the kicker. They're going to remove Leah Thomas from the wins. In other words, they're going to take back what that person had won. They cheated the whole time. So that's good on them. In a related story, the California Family Council reports that's californiafamily.org. Now, I'm going to walk you through this. There's a lot of players, a lot of movements in this thing. You have the California Department of Education. That's here in California. And then you got the California Interscholastic Federation. Now, these guys are the ones who do the sports here in California. The U.S., not California, U.S. Department of Education has launched an investigation to see if they were guilty of violating Title IX. And they concluded, yes, you are. So they gave them 10 days to change. This came out more than 10 days ago. This report I'm doing, it's way past that. We're still kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. But they gave them 10 days, or they were going to bring them up on charges through the Department of Justice. Okay? That's what the plan is. Okay? Either you change, or we're gonna cut all your funding, federal funding. Okay, the next story comes from Live Action. We've been praying for years to defund Planned Parenthood. Now, Planned Parenthood takes federal government money. In fact, they take up to $792 million per year to fund abortion. They'll say all those other things. It might be a very small percentage, but most of it is abortion. That's their big money item. And abortion and LGBTQ literature. They do that kind of stuff in referrals. Okay. Now, because of this, Trump signed a reconciliation bill that partly cuts their funding for up to a year. Okay, so we got a year to make this into law so it's a permanent thing. Because here's the thing, as a Christian, you're paying to the federal government. You give unto Caesar what is Caesar. But if Caesar is doing that and doing child sacrifice at the same time, guess who's that technically you're paying into that. Your blood is on our hands, whether we like it or not. So by stopping this, we wash our hands of this. Okay, now according to this prohibits such businesses, not only Planned Parenthood but other abortion mills, receiving Medicaid for 1 year. So that's a win-win. The next story comes from the Beckett Fund. Now this is kind of personal to me because as you know, we were part of the drive for Protect Kids California and for parental rights. This comes from the Supreme Court. They have made a decision on parental rights. It was a 6-3 decision for opt-out options for parents. Now this came about because what happened in Montgomery County Board of Education, which is in Maryland. They had, okay, this is a good story. This is a great example too. They had, first, they wanted to introduce LGBTQ curriculum. But the LGBTQ curriculum went from everything from drag queen story hour all the way up to sex workers. In other words, prostitution. Okay, there was one big tent and it had a various variety of books. Well, they wanted to teach this to the children, but they offered an opt-out for the parents. Well, what happened was they was overwhelmed how many parents opt out. In fact, there was nobody that wanted that curriculum. So what they decided to do was to rebrand it, redefine it, and put it in another department. They put it in the English department as literature. And then they didn't offer the opt-out. This sparked a lot of angry parents to the point where Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people, Orthodox Jews, all came together. This doesn't even happen in the Holy Land. They all came together with this lawsuit, and it made it all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, since this decision has happened, this starts a domino effect across the land because this is now federal. Now, there's going to be some opponents that's going to try to fight it, but here's the checkmate part. If you get rid of this or try to fight this, then you have to fight, guess what? Gay marriage, because that also passed through the Supreme Court. You can't have one without the other. You have to take the sweet water with the bitter water. Okay? So, as so far, that stands. Okay? Now we come to the last story. Win. Great. And this comes from the Real Impact. Now, what you do is you go to realimpact.com and you will look, and it'll have a part that says legislation. That's what you tap, and you find out the legislation here in California that is going to be presented for the next round of elections. There's a whole bunch there, and I don't have time to go through it all. Plus, I think they have their own podcast. There are 3 bills that caught my attention. There's Assembly Bill 86, which expands more education to the schools without the parents knowing it, because we don't have an opt-out here in California. So they can introduce it. They can put their propaganda in other departments and hide it, where you wouldn't think LGBT stuff is being taught. Yeah, it is. And a lot of it has to do with grooming and designing and engineering. Okay? You also have Senate Bill 59, which expands the confidentiality in the name change so that your child can legally have the change and you will not even know it. They'll be calling the child somebody else when they get to wherever they got to go. And when they leave your house at 18, they're a whole different person because they had their change. Okay, that is a big thing. Now, you connect that with, that's the Senate bill. There's also an Assembly bill doing the exact same thing. And it's on a faster track. They want to make it happen before the next election cycle. That is law. So what happens is you have this big, massive onion, and you every time you peel off something, another one grows back, because they have so many bills kind of codified into law. So keep in mind of that. Now, what I want you to do, you can go to our YouTube channel. Check us out on YouTube. We have a full channel there, and we're building on it. You can share this video with other like-minded Christians, or even those who are not like-minded. Okay? They can. You can also subscribe, so when we put out a new video, you'll see it. Now, we also have other videos. We also have a video we call a series called The Blacklisted, with Christian conservatives that are black. We also have Red Pill Theology. Red Pill Theology deals from everything from abortion and apologetics to transhumanism and technocracy. So in prophecy, on how it all ties into Revelation. That's what Red Pill's about. And we're still working on our show. We'll have a full show up probably sometime this fall. So do that and be well. God bless. I'll catch you next time. This has been Minister V. Hill with the Sheepdogs Report.